Good afternoon, my dear students. Today I am going to discuss the Hindu dated February 2, the budget newspaper. As you may know, you can expect a good number of questions from the annual budget. It is an important document for all the students who prepare for all India exams. Doesn't matter whether a bank exam or the staff selection commission examination. This particular budget document will have validity till the next budget is announced. So make sure that you all keep with yourself the budget newspaper, prepare your own notes, and of course I am very sure that my presentation may be of good help to you. So we shall start with the budget presentation, questions based on budget presentation. Today I have made some small changes. Everything will be in the form of questions and answer choices, and I shall try to explain when and where the things are necessary. And I would like to ask you, what is this budget all about? What is budget speaking constitutionally? Speaking constitutionally, the budget is the annual financial statement. So what happened on February 1 in the parliament? The budget proposals were presented before the Lok Sabha. So can it be presented before the Rajya Sabha? No. The budget is presented before the Lok Sabha, where our directly elected representatives sit. So through the budget presentation, the government was trying to obtain permission from the Lok Sabha, the House of Representatives, to tax people and to spend money on them. So budget proposals, tax proposals were presented. From the days to come, these proposals will undergo debates. The parliament members will debate on the proposals and will finally give sanction to the government. Similarly, the government proposes to spend money on different items, on defense, on Jal Jeevan Mission, on other government schemes, on Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Scheme. For all these things, government spending money. So if the government is to spend 1 rupee from the exchequer, it should get sanction from the Lok Sabha. So the presentation of the budget is the way of obtaining permission from the lower house of parliament. No taxation without representation. So we will pay taxes only if our representatives say. That is the idea. That is why the budget is presented before the Lok Sabha. So budget is the annual financial statement. The budget was presented by the government in front of the members of the Lok Sabha. The proposals are presented, and the proposals will be subject to debate by the members of parliament, and the members of parliament will finally pass the budget. So from April 1 onwards till the March 31 next, this budget will be valid. Government will be taxing people, and government will be spending money based on the passed document by the parliament. So I am going to start. First question, you are given 13 seconds to answer. For the COVID-19 vaccination program, dash crore has been set apart. Is it 20,000 crore, 30,000 crore, 35,000 crore, 40,000 crore or 50,000 crore? The time is up. Let the answers come. I am sure my students are ready. Of course, there are people who joined today. Participate, don't worry whether your answer is correct or not, participate. Yes, the answer is correct. It is 35,000 crore for the COVID vaccination program, the government proposes to spend 35,000 crore. Very important. I am moving on to my next question. The budget outlay for health and well-being is rupees dash lakh crore. How much money will be spent on health and well-being? How much money will the government spend? What does government plan to spend? Is it 2.23 lakh crore, 3.32 lakh crore, or 4.11 lakh crore, or 3.14 or 1.26 lakh crore? Okay, most of you answered correctly. It is 2.23 lakh crore. Very important question. This is a 137% increase over the figures meant for revised estimates. 2.23 lakh crore. This is very significant, especially in a year of COVID. Government has understood the importance of having public sector health infrastructure. So the government has planned to spend 2.23 lakh crore rupees on health and well-being, 137% more than the revised estimate for the previous year. For those who joined just today, I would like to let you know that generally our news analysis program is not just a presentation of a few questions, but today, thanks to it being the budget news analysis, I have decided this is the best way. Third question, the FDI limit in the insurance sector is raised to dash percent, 100%, 74%, 51%, 49% and 26%. Yes, let the answers come. Okay. Yes, good. Good to see that all of you answer correctly. It is 74% from presently 49%. What does that mean? What does that mean? If I start an insurance company today and if 100 rupee is needed as capital, presently only 49 can come from a foreign party through FDI, foreign direct investment. The balance 51 has to be made domestically. But now this figure will change to 74 and the domestic investor need to invest only 26. That is the idea. So we expect the insurance sector will be able to attract more foreign capital in the days to come with this change. So from 49 to 74% is the FDI cap, meaning more than 74% cannot be foreign capital. The next question, the fourth one, please read. I shall give you more than 15 seconds. Pick out among the following the incorrect information regarding the Union Budget 2021-22 proposals. A bare minimum number of public sector enterprises will be retained even in the strategic sectors such as defense. Sale of 2 public sector banks and a general insurance company is proposed. An asset reconstruction fund or bad bank will be set to take over bad loans from banks. A new development finance institutions is to be set up to fund infrastructure project. Income tax slabs remain unchanged. What is your answer? Read the proposals A, B, C, D, E one by one and pick the incorrect one. Is it E only, B and E only, A and E only, or C and E only? Okay, I have started getting the responses. 2, okay, meaning B and E are incorrect. B and E are incorrect. Ruchik says E, Amrita says the fifth option, Ramya, Devi and all follow her giving the answer fifth option. I am giving you a few more seconds. Let me see if I will get more responses. Okay, listen, the answer is the fifth option. All are correct, none is incorrect. All are correct. Now we shall dissect each of the options one by one. A bare minimum number of public sector enterprises will be retained even in strategic sector such as defense. Listen, this is why the budget 2021-22 is considered a clear a visionary kind of a budget. The government has made a paradigm shift from retaining public sector. So far the idea was that the government will keep its footprints on the public sector, but now the clear signal is there that government is not going to occupy a dominant position in business. Rather, government has clearly indicated that it has given the green signal, green flag for privatization. So even in the strategic sectors such as defense, government is going to go for privatization. A bare minimum number of public sector enterprises will be retained. Only a minimum number of public sector enterprises will be retained. Public means the government. The sale of 2 public sector banks and a general insurance company is proposed. The government said that in the budget session itself, the government will announce which are the banks that are going to be sold. So I believe in the last amalgamation, we know that a few banks were amalgamated, and Indian Bank, for example, Allahabad Bank was merged with Indian Bank, Corporation Bank and Vijay Bank were merged with the Union Bank. So a few banks were kept away. For example, Punjab and Sindh Bank, the government did not merge with any other bank. Central Bank of India is another bank that was left alone. So government's pick could be these 2 banks, but we do not know, it is just a guess. An asset reconstruction fund or bad bank will be set up to take over bad loans of banks. We know that NPA, the non-performing assets, NPA is a big headache. Growing NPAs is a big headache for all the banks. The growing NPAs makes banks' balance sheets very weak and ugly. So government is envisaging an asset reconstruction fund or a kind of a bad bank, meaning to manage the bad assets of banks. Every loan is an asset as far as a bank is concerned. So an asset reconstruction fund or a bad bank will be set up to take over bad loans of banks. So it is a way to cleanse the balance sheets of banks. A new development financial institution is to be set up for infrastructure projects. Listen, India is dreaming big. India wants to become a 5 trillion economy within a few years' time. So if the economy is to become a 5 trillion economy, then we need to invest a huge lot of amount on capital infrastructure. We know that banks are generally reluctant to provide long-term credit, but infrastructure projects require long-term credit. It is for the very purpose that the government is proposing a new development bank. we know about other development banks. SIDBI is a development bank, NABARD is a development bank, NHB, National Housing Bank, is a development bank. These are all agencies that are refinancing agencies. They are given specific sectors. NHB takes care of housing in India. SIDBI takes care of small finance in India. NABARD takes care of agriculture and rural development. Exim Bank is taking care of export and import. So similarly, we are going to have a new development bank or financial institution for infrastructure projects. That is the meaning of the D option. And E is income tax slabs remain unchanged. That is also true. Income tax slabs remain unchanged. Nobody expected that there would be more concessions on income tax because we all are going through a very tough time. So is the case with the government. So the government did not have the headroom to provide more concessions on direct taxes. So our answer is all are correct, so none of these is the correct option. I am proceeding. Question number 5. The Union government has accepted the 15th Finance Commission's recommendation to keep states' share in the divisible pool of taxes to -% for the 5-year period starting 2021-22. Yes, let the answers come. Is it 37, 39, 41, 45 or 47? Yes. Yes. Fifth option and third option are given. I am proceeding. The correct answer is the third option, 41%. I shall explain what it's all about. We know that Government of India collects taxes. There are different taxes that the Government of India collects, and the taxes that are collected by the government are shared between the center and the states. How much should be the share of the state governments will be decided by the Finance Commission that will be appointed from time to time. The 5th Finance Commission is headed by Mr. N.K. Singh, that submitted its report to the government recently, and the 15th Finance Commission suggested that out of the shareable pool of resources, 41% should go to the states. This was the recommendation by the 15th Finance Commission, which was accepted by the central government. The 14th Finance Commission had recommended 42% division, but the 15th Finance Commission reduced the figure to 41%, keeping in mind that two states are no longer states, they are union territories. Both J&K and Ladakh, they were converted into union territories. That is why the reduction of 41%, meaning if the shareable pool of resources is 100, 41 will go to the states. So that is the meaning. But listen, the constitution says that taxes should be shared between the center and the states. But here the Government of India goes to cess path, the path of cess. Cess is not considered taxes. So the cess need not be shared between the center and the states. This is the complaint by many states. What does the government do? Government is converting a part of the tax, say on petrol, 2.5% is made converted to a cess, and that part need not be shared with the state government. So this is why the government is criticized for not showing the spirit of cooperative federalism. A richer central government and poorer states cannot be an acceptable formula. Anyway, I hope you understood that 41% of the shareable resources will go to the state government as directed by the, as recommended by the 15th Finance Commission. Sixth question. The states have been granted enhanced borrowing room up to -% of gross domestic product, state gross domestic product for 2022, with an additional limit of -% for those undertaking power sector reforms. Is it 4 and 0.5, 3 and 1, 4 and 1, 3 and 0.75, 4 and 0.75? Yes, the answer is the first option, 4 and 0.5. I shall explain what this question all about. Listen, state governments can borrow money from RBI, but their borrowing capacity is limited. They can borrow up to 4% of their total state GDP. If the state GDP is 100, gross domestic product is the flow value of all final goods and services that are produced and consumed in the economy within a period of time. So, if the total domestic production, the value of domestic production, take it as total value of domestic production of goods and services, if that is 100, up to 4 rupees can be borrowed. Mind you, borrowing is not a bad word in finance. Borrowing is acceptable so long as you can service the borrowing, service the loans. So, up to 4 can be borrowed. The government of India has given permission to states to borrow up to 4% of their total gross state domestic product. And if the states undertake power sector reforms as desired by the central government, they can borrow up to an additional 0.5%. Power sector reforms, I shall tell you in detail on a later occasion. Broadly, this is the power sector reforms that the government proposes. The central government proposed division of power industry into 3: generation, distribution and transmission. The entire industry is divided into 3: generation, distribution and transmission, and government wants private sector presence in all the 3. So, that is the essence of the government's power sector reforms. And if the state, any state undertakes to do this, then they can borrow up to 0.5%. So, this was also criticized by many states, especially opposition ruling states, which said that this is also against the spirit of cooperative federalism. You cannot discriminate states, or the central government is using or flexing its muscles to force the states or to go by their desires. So, anyway, there is the question can be described like this: up to 4% of the GDP can be borrowed, and if you undertake the power sector reforms, you can borrow up additional 0.5%. That is the meaning of the question. The next question: the union budget proposes to tax income on provident fund contributions of more than -rupees a year. Yes, let the answers come quickly. The union budget proposes to tax the income on provident fund contributions of more than dash a year. Yes, the answer is correct. Many people have answered this, 2.5 lakh. Listen, Provident Fund is a social security measure. A part of your salary will be cut and will be deposited in your Provident Fund account. If you are a member of the organized sector, then a part of your salary will be cut and an equal contribution from the employer, it will be credited to your Provident Fund account, and you will be given interest by the EPFO, Employees Provident Fund Organization. It comes under the Labour Ministry. So the EPFO will give you interest for your Provident Fund contribution. Presently it is 8%, one of the best interest rates that you can get. Mind you, all banks give less than 8%. So this is what the benefit of the EPFO, Employees Provident Fund Organization. So far, the income from Provident Fund contributions, the interest income from Provident Fund contribution was beyond taxation. But from this year onwards, the government plans to tax the interest that you may get from your contributions to EPFO. So generally this is excess investment is done by private people. It is not by employees but by public provident fund. Those who can, if you are a private person, still you can invest money in public provident fund. There are plenty of benefits for public provident fund accounts. No court can charge or bank can charge any lien on your contributions to public provident fund. It is a social security measure. It is not considered an investment, a mere investment, rather it is a social security measure. Okay. Anyway, 2.5 lakhs and above will be charged for income tax calculations. The next question. Through disinvestment of public sector companies and financial institutions, the union government proposes to mobilize rupees dash crore in the fiscal 2021-22. The time is up, quickly give me answers. Very important question for your examination. Disinvestment target of the Government of India for the year 2021-22. Meaning in the year 2021-22, how much money is targeted by the government through selling its equities in public sector organizations. It is the fourth option, 1.75 lakh crore. So through public sector disinvestment, government plans to mobilize 1.75 lakh crore. Listen, during last year, the government had planned to mobilize 2.1 lakh crore. This was the plan of the government last year. In the last year's budget, the government had proposed to mobilize 2.1 lakh crore. But mind you, 2020 cannot be considered a reference year for anything. It was a so-called special year for everybody. The nation was under lockdown for many years. This was a year where the public confidence, investors' confidence went down like anything. So against the target of mobilizing 2.1 lakh crore, the government could mobilize only around rupees 19,000 crore, 19,499 crore. Only this much could be mobilized by the government till date this year. In the financial year, against the target of 2.1 lakh, only this much could be mobilized. Government is going further ambitious and is planning to mobilize 1.75 lakh crore. Government believes that the year 2021-22 will be entirely different. It is going to make a V-shaped growth. Economy is going to jump back after touching the nether. So we will have more investors coming in, and people will be ready to buy equities of public sector enterprises. We have just discussed that the government has plans to sell 2 public sector banks and 1 national insurance companies, and government wants to keep only a bare minimum public sector companies even in the strategic sector. So in the days to come, in the years to come, this is going to be a major revenue for the government, not just through taxes but through other means. 1.75 lakh crore is what the government plans to mobilize through selling its equities in public sector units. That's it. Next question. The union budget proposes to contain the fiscal deficit to -% of GDP by 2021-22. Yes, the answer is 6.8%. I shall tell you about what is this fiscal deficit. The terminology fiscal means that pertains to governmental income and expenditure. So fiscal means that is related to governmental income and governmental expenditure. There will be a fiscal surplus if government's revenue is more than governmental expenditure. There will be a fiscal deficit if the governmental expenditure is more than the income. So what is deficit? Deficit means, deficit is a situation where your expenditure is more than the income. So to control the deficit or to reduce the deficit, 3 things should happen. You either increase the income or reduce the expenditure or do both. That is the only way to control your deficit. So to control your deficit, what should you do? You increase the income or reduce the expenditure, or you can do a combination of both. But mind you, we are going through a very, very difficult year. No one is bothered too much about the deficit that we may incur. This is the time to rejuvenate the economy, or you got to stimulate the economy, and the private people's confidence in investing is at the lowest ebb. So the government has to invest more. So there is no question of reducing the expenditure now. Mind you, government had to spend a lot of money on stimulus package, and government had to spend a lot of money on vaccination program, etc. So this is not going to be a year where government can reduce the expenditure. Nor can the government expect more taxes, because people are not doing good, companies are not doing good, they are all going through a very bad patch. So government cannot expect more income. So what did the government do? Government resorted to more borrowing. That is why it has touched 6.8% of GDP. So I hope you understood. 6.8% of the GDP, meaning by the end of the year, the government believes that they can contain the fiscal deficit to 6.8% of the GDP. It may not be an ideal situation. Through the Fiscal Responsibility and Budget Management Act that was passed in the year 2003, FRBM, As per the FRBM Act, the government was supposed to contain the fiscal deficit to less than 3%. I don't exactly remember the target, but still it is around 3%. But this year everything went out of control, and the government does not anticipate that things can be controlled in the upcoming year also. So the government finally plans to control the fiscal deficit to 6.8% of the GDP. Considering the fiscal stress that the nation and the government experiences, I think 6.8, if it can contain, will be a commendable achievement. Question number 10. Pick out the most correct choice among the following with regard to financial proposals of Indian Railways in the Union Budget. A record allocation of 1.1 lakh crore is made for 2021-22. The total capital outlay for 21-22 is 2.15 lakh crore. The capital expenditure plan is 33% above the revised estimates. The railway was provided 79,398 crore as special loan for the COVID related gap. We know that the Indian Railway also experienced a very bad year last time. It was almost forced to close all its operations. So to meet the revenue gap, it was given a loan of 79,398. 100% electrification of broad gauge routes will be completed by December 23. So please give your answers. Which of the following is the most correct? Is it that all are correct? Is it all except E, all except A and D, or none of these? Yes, it looks as if budget paper is not properly read by many. That's why the responses are very slow, but there are people who read. It's a mix of both. The answer is that all the above are correct. It's a record allocation. You know, till recently, till a few years ago, the railway budget had been separate from the union budget. It had been presented before the parliament separately, but a few years ago the government merged the railway budget with the union budget. No longer is railway budget presented separately. So railway allocation is a part of the union budget now. The record allocation of 1.1 lakh crore, very important, is made for the Indian Railways. The capital outlay is 2.15 lakh crore. This capital expenditure is 33% above the revised estimates. What is this revised estimates? This is the proposal, budget proposal for the year 2021-22, and the year may go through. After 1 year, the government will revise the estimates. What was the actual proposal and what exactly has happened? That is the revised estimates. Revised estimates will again be revised to arrive at the final estimates, final figures. So that is what the revised estimates. Last year's budget proposal was revised in between. That is what is called revised estimates. Railway was provided 79,398 crore as a COVID related gap, and 100% electrification by December 2023, very important. All the above are correct. 11th question. The union budget proposes that vehicles would undergo fitness test after dash years in automated fitness centers in the case of personal vehicles and after dash years in the case of commercial vehicles. Yes, this particular proposal was welcomed by the automobile industry. This proposal may be welcomed by environmental enthusiasts because older vehicles contribute to environmental pollution. Many countries resorted to mandatory withdrawal of old vehicles from their territories. Fuel efficient and vehicles with less emissions will make the environment cleaner. So the answer is the fourth option, 20 and 15. For passenger vehicles, it is in the case of 20 years for passenger vehicles and 15 years for commercial vehicles. So your answer is the fourth option. The next question. I have already explained to you what fiscal deficit is. Pick out among the following the correct information regarding government's fiscal plans. The fiscal deficit plan for the year 21-22 is 6.8% of GDP. The original fiscal deficit target for the year 21-22 was 3.5% of GDP. The fiscal deficit for the year 21-22 is pegged at 9.5% of GDP. Oh, there is a small mistake. This is 2021. This is 2021. Okay, I shall explain things. The A point we have already discussed. By the year 2021-22, the upcoming fiscal year, the government plans to control the fiscal deficit to 6.8%. The actual target as per the FRBM Act, the actual target for the year 2021-22 was 3.5%. Meaning by the end of 2022, the fiscal deficit was to be controlled to 3.5% of GDP, but the government understands that it cannot, and in the year 2020-21 it was 9.5%. Nobody can complain for the fiscal target slippages by the government because the year 2020 was an unusual year. So in an unorthodox year, anything may happen. The government spending went like anything, but the governmental revenues came down like anything thanks to lockdown and lower realization of taxes. So actually in the current year 2020-21, the GDP will be 9.5%. The next year it was to be controlled to 3.5%, but government knows that it is not possible, so the government checked it, and now the new target fix is 6.8% of GDP. But that doesn't mean that government can allow the fiscal deficit to continue like this. So the government has got plans, and what is the plan? By the year 2025-26, government will take actions to reduce the fiscal deficit to 4.5% of GDP. So the essence is that to reach the target of 3.5%, it has to go beyond 2025-26. That's the idea. So how can government reduce the fiscal deficit? Either increase the income or reduce the expenditure or do a combination of both. So how the government will do these things are things to be seen in the days to come. Question number 13. The union budget proposes to make a one-time payment of rupees more than -1 lakh crore to Food Corporation of India (FCI) to deal with its accumulated loan from National Small Savings Fund. Listen, we know about the fact that we are providing ration rice at rupees 1 per kg and wheat at rupees 2 per kg. In the ration shop, people are provided rice for 1 rupee per kg and 2 rupee per kg. Yesterday we discussed in detail about these things. We discussed in detail. But the from the National Small Savings Fund will be repaid, and the amount is 2 lakh crore. So this was the amount accumulated borrowing from loans from National Savings Fund, and this 2 lakh crore will be repaid through a budget operation. So that's it. I hope you got an idea. So our answer is 2 lakh crore. So I am proceeding further. The union budget has doubled the allocation to micro, small and medium enterprises, MSMEs, to rupees dash crore. A very important question. We know that the government through its stimulus plans helped MSMEs The answer is 15,700 crore. The second option. The second option is correct. I am proceeding further. The 15th question. The budget allocation for defence stood at rupees dash lakh crore. A very important question. There was a time when every year for bank exams this question used to come. Every year. There was a time when every year the question makers used to ask this: budget allocation on defence. What was the defence allocation? It is 4.78 lakh crore. 4.78 lakh crore is what the government is going to spend on defence. Defence allocation is 4.78 lakh crore. The 16th question. In the year 2021-22, public sector banks will get rupees dash crore towards recapitalization. We know that NPAs are mounting with the banks, so that weakens their balance sheets, and banks are to comply with the Basel norms. Basel is a place in Switzerland where central bankers used to sit and prescribe norms to strengthen the banking systems across the world. So as per the Basel norms, we got to have enough capital in the bank's capital account. So as against assets, meaning loans, as against the risk weighted assets, assets means loans, banks have to keep enough capital in their account. So this is what is called capital adequacy ratio. So banks need more capital in their capital account as per the Basel norms. So most of the banks are owned by the government. So government as the owner proposes to invest 20,000 crore, the fifth option, 20,000 crore to strengthen the capital account of public sector banks. That is the idea of the question. I hope you have an idea about this. I shall explain as and when time permits. Let me push to the next question now. 17th question. The Union Budget proposes to set up a new development financial institution, the National Bank for Financing Infrastructure and Development, with a capital base of dash crore. A very important question. These are all pick of the day, very important question. The Union Budget proposes to set up a new development financial institution, the National Bank for Financing Infrastructure and Development, with a capital base of dash crore. The answer is fifth option, 20,000 crore. We have already discussed, we require a long-term financial institution, that can give long-term credit. We know that infrastructure development requires long-term funding, and long-term funding cannot be possible through commercial banks. Commercial banks are interested in lending the money only for the short term. So we require a long-term funding financial institution. That is what the government has proposed, the National Bank for Financing Infrastructure. We had a financial institution called IDBI. IDBI was originally a development bank, and the idea was to provide infrastructure, provide credit for the long-term need of the industry. But IDBI was converted into a commercial bank now. IDBI is only a commercial bank now. So there is a clear-cut absence of a long-term financing agency in India. That's what the government does now. The National Bank for Financing Infrastructure and Development, that is to be made with 20,000 crore. That's the first tranche of capital infusion from the government to build infrastructure for the country. I am proceeding further. Question number 18. The proposed National Bank for Financing Infrastructure and Development is given a lending target of dash lakh crore in the next 5 years, meaning this particular institution has to provide this much of credit. It is given the task of providing 5 lakh crore in the next 5 years. We discussed the institution, National Bank for Financing and Infrastructure. The government has made an initial corpus of 20,000 crore, and the institution is given a target of financing 5 lakh crore. And this is going to be very important, especially when the government has got the plans to convert the economy into a 5 trillion economy. Building infrastructure is an excellent way to have, it will have a income generation capacity. So more and more capital expenditure means government is planning to use its resources in a more productive manner. It's a better and more judicious use of funds. If the revenue expenditure goes up, it's going to be a bad idea, but if the capital expenditure is going up, it's a good idea. So the government plans to spend more money on capital infrastructure development, meaning it's a good idea. It makes economic sense. 19th question. A museum on Prime Ministers of India will be set up in New Delhi, in Teen Murti Bhavan, New Delhi. 77.78 crore, 77.78 crore is allotted for building a museum on Prime Ministers of India. The next question. the budget allocation for agriculture and allied sector is pegged at? The answer is the first option, 1,48,301 crore, which is equivalent to 4.25% of budget allocation. Budget spending. Of the total budget allocation, 4.25% or 1,48,301 will be spent on agriculture and allied sector. The next question, question number 21. The budget proposes to create National Research Foundation (NRF), an umbrella body that is expected to fund research across the range of disciplines from science and technology to humanities. The allocation for NRF is rupees dash crore. Yes, the answer is the third option, 50,000 crore for the National Research Foundation. This is going to be the umbrella organization to encourage research in India, research across different disciplines, a range of disciplines from science and technology to humanities. Very important institution. Question number 22. The Union Budget has announced a new centrally sponsored scheme, Prime Minister Atmanirbhar Swasth Bharat Yojana, to improve primary, secondary and tertiary care health systems, strengthen national institutions, create new institutions to cater to detection and cure of new and emerging diseases. The scheme has been given an outlay of dash crore over next 6 years. The answer is the second option, 64,180 crore. Very, very important question. Prime Minister Atmanirbhar Swasth Bharat Yojana. We know that we have a 3-tier medical infrastructure in India. At the lowest rung it is the primary health centers and community health centers. In the middle rung it is the taluk hospitals and the district hospital, and at the tertiary, the third level, it is the referral hospitals called the medical colleges. So all these 3 tiers will be strengthened using 64,180 crore. 23, question number 23. The Swachh Bharat Mission Urban 2.0 would be implemented over the next 5 years with an outlay of dash crore. The answer is 1.41 lakh crore. Swachh Bharat was a dream of our Prime Minister. A clean India. I am proceeding to the next question. The 24th one, another flagship program of the government, the Jal Jeevan Mission Urban, that aims at universal water supply in all 4,378 urban local bodies with 2.86 crore household tap connections, as well as liquid waste management in 500 Amrit cities. The Jal Jeevan Mission will be implemented with an expenditure of rupees dash lakh crore. A very, very important question. Answer is 2.87 lakh crore. Listen, it's one of the flagship programs of the government. Very important question. 2.87 lakh crore is what the government plans to spend. I am proceeding further to the next question. The allocation for the implementation of Mahatma Gandhi, very important question. The biggest demand-driven employment program in the world, Mahatma Gandhi National Employment Guarantee Program or Act, for the year 2021-22, rupees dash crore. This was a great disappointment this year. we thought that the government would spend more money, especially in a COVID year where people need jobs. But unfortunately, the government has not been that adventurous. Our government was very conservative in its approach. The answer is 73,000 crore. The government plans to spend 73,000 crore for the MNREGP. Question number 26. The union budget has presented Ladakh, the new union territory, with a proposal to set up an IIT, an IIM, an IISc, a central university or a national law university. The answer is the fourth option, a central university. Very, very important question. We know that Leh, it is in Leh that the government plans to construct. Leh is the capital of Ladakh. It is in Leh that the government plans to set up a central university. Question number 27. The union budget proposes to launch a revamped reforms-based result-oriented power distribution sector scheme with an outlay of dash crore. Very, very important. Power distribution sector. We know that in India the transmission loss is very, very high. So power distribution has to be strengthened. In the days to come, we would realize that the strength of the economy and the country will be based on the effective consumption of energy that the country does or is able to make. So the answer to this question is the second option, 3,05,985 crore will be spent on power distribution sector scheme in India. My dear students, thank you very much for the stretched session that you have been able to join, and I am sure that you will watch this session again and ensure that you make use of this. And this is not the end. In the days to come too, I shall spice up my program with questions from budget. Budget is an important document that will be valid for the next year. So ensure that you keep today's paper along with you. You prepare your own notes, my notes that I have given now and that I shall give through the application. I am sure it will help you immensely. So thank you very much, and we will have another session at 3 o'clock. It will be either on English, math or reasoning. Please make sure that you support us by providing your complimentary comments against this program in the YouTube. Join our YouTube channel, subscribe, make sure that you get notification from us, and help us improve our social media presence. You may like our Facebook page and join all our social media platforms. Thank you very much. Have a nice time.